Welcome to Roo Code Office Hours. I'm your community manager, Hannes Rudolph. I'm joined here today with Adam from Coder, and Dan and Murilo, who work at Roo Code. So, how have you been this week?
Man, it's been honestly a wild 2 weeks, to be honest. The open source models that have come out have just been killer. I've been testing Qwen3 Coder that came out yesterday. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to test that much. It works phenomenally in Roo Code, which I'm super excited about. And then there's Kimi K2, which is kind of hit or miss depending on the provider I found, but I'm still super excited about that one as well. And then Qwen also updated its other model, the A23 or the 235B one, the mixture of experts one, and that one actually works so much better with tool calling too. Super excited about all three of those.
Yeah.
So you said it works well with Roo, the new Qwen model?
The Coder model, Qwen3 Coder works great with Roo. I actually have tested it in a few other coding tools as well, and it's kind of hit or miss. By far, the best one I found so far has been Roo, which is cool.
Huh. Interesting. So, which provider do you use it with, or do you run it? Did you spin it up locally?
So I did use a provider. I was using Parasol for a bit, but I actually found them to be so slow. So I know people might actually yell at me for this, but I'm actually using the Alibaba one currently. It's just got a faster token per second speed right now.
Okay. No, that makes complete sense. In the world of AI, you use what gets the job done. It's going to be used, and that's just the way it is. So use the one that works. If you have top secret information that you want to withhold from a large language model, then maybe don't send it to anyone.
Yeah, don't send it anything private. But for speed and testing, like it is a really solid model. Very impressed.
Here, I'm going to jump over to my screen share for a moment here, and I am going to run this weekly create a visually appealing and smooth animated website, yada yada yada. Let's create Flappy Birds, and this week let's do it with Opus. I know we're going to see a good result. Well, I think we'll see a good result, guys. So let's give it a go. I'm going to hit enter and zoom in a little so people can see what's going on, hopefully. And then let's flip back to Dan. I think you had a topic here. You had Murilo. You had said something about what is it? That new Amazon tool.
Oh yeah, Kiro.
Yeah, have you tested it, Gozo?
A little bit. I haven't put much time into it yet. I keep hearing very positive things about it, but I haven't put the reps in yet.
Yeah, I just tested like a single project. I tried to make a bigger project and try to do it there. Like I just wanted to test like their workflow with the Spec-Driven Development thing. And I found that, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it. Like it's basically the same that I feel about trying to use any of these orchestration workflows that breaks it down into tasks. I feel like the tasks do a very good job individually. Like,
hold on, let's back up a quick second here. Spec-driven development. Do you want to tell our viewers what exactly this is? And
they're
how
calling
Kiro uses it.
Yeah, they're calling spec-driven development like the new thing. Basically, we had like context engineering that people were talking about that basically creates the documentation before we go through the development. And spec-driven development is basically the same. Like it creates an initial documentation. If you go to Kiro, like the first steps, they will talk to you, try to get the idea of what you're trying to build, and they're going to translate that into the initial documents. Like they're going to create a design document, basically a PRD, and then they will break this down into different tasks. So there's like a document with all of those tasks, and you can click to go through each of them. It's basically what the other workflows were doing before with the context engineering thing and the task master that took a big project and broke it down into smaller tasks.
So they're trying to basically bake in some sort of memory bank. without calling it a memory
Yeah.
bank.
That's kinda, because like it's not just a memory bank to hold the context of the entire task. It's more like trying to define an orchestration for it. Like first we're going to do this task, and then we're going to do this other one, and then it's going to do the next one. Whatever. It's going to like try to implement a whole project on these smaller tasks. But what I felt like when I was using it is that the tasks did a great job individually. Like they implemented everything that was asked, and they created tests for it, and it ran until the test passed. So it was a good autonomous experience while the task was running. But what I felt like it was the biggest flaw was when the tasks were going to be put back together. Like the integration, when it finished the task and then it tried to incorporate with the previous one, basically it didn't try to glue them together. Like all of the tasks, it's like you have a project and you're telling it to 10 different people to do this project, and they aren't communicating with each other. I felt like it couldn't glue together everything. So like it created all of these tasks and they're all passed. But at the end, when I tried to execute the project, I only saw like a blank page. And I spent like double the time trying to troubleshoot it and see how the components weren't being called correctly. Like I don't know, the fifth task wasn't calling the right function from the first task. And I felt like it was just a big mess at the end. I had like 500 tasks passing, but nothing was working. Like I couldn't see anything. My page was just blank.
Yep, I had a very similar experience. I probably haven't done as much as you on it, but I will say it's an interesting approach, because I do know there are a lot of engineers that really like that spec-driven kind of development style, and they actually are doing that today, kind of on their own with AI coding tools.
Does it maybe work better when you're doing like a starting from zero?
See, that is the thing that I wanted to test with Kiro, because what I care about a lot of times is working in existing code bases, and I do not know what Kiro is going to do if I like pull it into my big projects I'm working on. I only tested it from zero, to be honest, because that's just typically how I start using those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I felt like was just that I spent so much time trying to troubleshoot everything that I just gave up at the end. Like I had a big massive code base that I didn't understand, and there are like hundreds of tests passing, and I tried to troubleshoot some of the things. Like I was trying to at least see something on the UI, because I was just seeing a blank page at the end. And then like it changes some things, but then the test started failing, and it had to rewrite the tests. And it was just like it was becoming a bigger and a bigger mess, and I couldn't handle it.
This is a similar experience I had when trying to build a memory bank for Roo Code, actually.
Yeah, I feel like this is the problem with orchestration workflows or these tasks, dividing something into smaller tasks and giving it to individual agents. I feel like the integration part that glues all of it together, it's not good enough for now. I think the solution to this might be to add some human in the middle. When you're creating the plan, when you're dividing all of these tasks, add some verification points so the user can test like everything we have so far and give a go to proceed, or maybe troubleshoot the issues before continuing to the next task.
I feel like there's probably it's the approach I think these sub agents are taking that might be flawed a little bit, because if you think about in my mind, like if you give it the structure that it needs to fill in, like let's say that there's something that goes around like stubs things out and it needs to fill in the logic behind it, but the contract is kind of defined outside of that. Sorry, go ahead, Hannes. Were you going to say something?
No, I'm listening. I was acknowledging you. Yeah, sorry.
So I feel like the flaw in a lot of these that I see is that they try to do completely independent parts and then try to stitch them back together, like you're saying. Where I almost think you still need that overarching view, and then you can like break out like some of the implementation details from it. I've had pretty good success with that when I've played around with coding tools to actually build orchestration, things like that. But it's still not foolproof because it doesn't have the context of everything else that's happened in the application.
Yeah. No, I guess that makes complete sense. Okay, let's shift over to our Roo Code instance here and see how we're going. I did have to do a little tweaking. I needed to adjust. I forgot to delete a folder from last week's attempts. So here we are. It's trucking away. We have a to-do list here. And let me just see, where are we? Set up node in the project. Okay, so it's doing its thing. I don't know if you guys have ever used Opus, or if as a viewer, if you've ever used Opus, but it can seem a little slow. It basically just gets the job done for the most part once instead of zipping over it 10 times. So it doesn't always feel as fast, but the end product is just works most of the time. Okay, Dan, let's flip to you for a moment. What have you been working on this week?
Mostly reviewing PRs. That's what I do. But yeah, I've seen a couple of interesting new features. For example, the command approving UI. Basically, when a command is run, now it will let you quickly add it to your allowed or denied list. I think that's really interesting. I've seen also something that I'm really excited about, edited files overview. Basically, when the task is editing files, you'll see a summary of all the edited files at the bottom.
I think like Cursor and Windsurf and Tray do.
Yeah, and I feel like for that, it will open the opportunity to make Roo not... When you edit files right now, it opens a new tab for every file you edit, right? So we're also looking into making Roo edit the files in the background. So if we combine that overview of all the files that you edit with that background editing, you know what files are being edited, you know what's being added, but then you don't have to see, the editing process. It can happen in the background while you do other stuff. So I feel like a combination of those two new features is awesome. Really excited about that.
Yeah, I did see that one as well. I saw the diff view, and that's something that a number of people have approached us over the months with, and this seems to be the most solid implementation we've run across. So I'm excited to see that cross the finish line into experimental, where we can push it along.
Yeah, basically you can decide if you want the current way of editing files where you see the file being edited in real time, or if you just want it in the background and then you still have access to all the changes that Roo made in the...
Well, I think that the summary and the diff edit are two separate things to a degree.
They are.
Because the file still needs to open up. That's key for the diagnostics to work. We are working on a checkbox that will basically do the edits in the background and not open the files at all. But that will rob us of Roo of the ability to see diagnostics, which, depending on what people want, might be fine.
Yeah. But I feel like giving that, control to the user, sometimes you're editing markdown files, like you don't need to, enable diagnostics for markdown or something like that. So I feel like it's a really nice change. There's some other features we're working on right now.
Do you want to tell us about Mode Writer and how you used it yesterday to build a mode for what was it? Merge conflict resolving. So basically, tell us about Mode Writer, how you used it with for merge conflict resolving, and then let's tell people about how we're going to be putting that in the marketplace this week.
Yeah, basically, Mode Writer is an internal mode that we have to create other modes, specific specialized modes. So when we had a problem with some PRs, sometimes it takes a little while to review them, or the code base is changing so fast that basically conflicts are inevitable, merge conflicts on GitHub. And so I created a mode yesterday, giving it very specific instructions on how to solve these conflicts properly. And the mode writer basically guides you through the process. So if you have something you want to do, like a workflow that you want to follow, some repetitive task that you have, you simply give all the instructions, all what the mode needs to do, the steps it needs to follow to this mode writer, and it will create a pretty solid workflow. Like with all the steps, it will integrate the new to-do list, which is awesome. I feel like that tool is really good. And the result is actually really, really good. Like the resulting merge resolver mode, it one-shots conflict and really complex conflicts as well. Before it would, previous iterations of this mode, well, I tried to create it before, it would completely fail. So this new mode is actually really exciting, and we are working on getting that mode writer into the marketplace, so you can create modes specific for your code base. Or
can you tell me how you built the
Mhm.
mode? So you did you simply just switch into mode writer and give it an outline for what you didn't do, what you wanted it to do and what you didn't want it to do, and then from there, did you have to flick back and forth a bunch of times, review it manually? How did this work, and how long did it take?
So I already had an idea. I've solved conflicts myself. I use a single workflow for that. I don't try different things and see what works. So basically, I started a new task, told the mode writer mode what I needed to do. So it creates some sort of role definition. So your work or your role is to solve merge conflicts. Then I gave it some steps. You're going to receive the PR number. You are going to execute git fetch, so you get the latest version of main, and basically all the steps that needed to follow. Not very specific. I just told it you need to run this command to do this command to do this, and it came up with something really detailed. And yeah, for that workflow, works perfectly. It took me like 30 minutes, more or less. And yes, I did do some back and forth between, when I created it, I tested it and it made some mistakes or didn't use the correct command. So I went back to the same task, mode writer, and told it, well, you need to fix this step because it's doing this. And I don't like that. But ultimately, the final result was really, really solid, and it added some steps that I didn't think about originally when I was writing the task. So yeah, it worked pretty well.
Okay,
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you tell us a little bit about you? I've heard you talk about custom modes before, Adam. Can you tell us a little bit about your?
Man, I've built so many custom modes. I couldn't even tell you all of them. But the most recent one I built, so I was out camping this past weekend, and I was thinking about like my son who's trying to learn how to code. And AI just does the work for you a lot of times. So I ended up creating a mode called teacher mode in Roo Code that I gave it a very specific guidelines on. Instead of just doing something, it kind of would go through and ask, like, what approach do you think is better? Why do you think it's better? And then it would eventually help go write the code. But it kind of walks you through the entire process of doing it while teaching you why something is better than another way. And I think it's just the custom mode stuff is so fascinating because you can come up with a million different use cases for it. I have one called Pair Programmer.
Hold on. Can we get that? Can we get that mode for the marketplace? The teacher mode.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to put that on. If you can get that to me today, then we can include that. We're going to be putting out today mode writer and merge resolver into the marketplace later today.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of my other modes that I really like, I don't know if the name's great, but I call it Pair Programmer. And the idea, so a lot of times, and all of you that code know this, if you tell the AI to do something, it'll pick the one thing it thinks it needs to do and just go do it. And that is usually not the right way to do it when you're working in an existing code base. I typically have 2 or 3 ideas in my head for how something should be implemented. So the idea with the pair programmer is it forces the AI to give options for approaches and analyze it based on the complexity of it. And then you can always kind of like override it, be like, yes, I like the first option, but I think you also need to do this. I think you should use a combination of this and this. So rather than just like immediately jumping into code like a feature or a refactor or something, it'll talk you through the steps that, or the approach that, or the way the problem should actually be solved. That's probably one of my most used modes, honestly, because I just like having that. Like I call it pair programmer because that's like you have somebody sitting beside you, you're talking to them about, like, well, what do you think about doing this? Well, that's a bad idea. Maybe we should do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I had a similar mode like back in the day when I was starting with Roo Code. I had a mode that I called chat mode. Basically, it did sort of the same thing. It didn't have access to code tools at all, so it really needed to use the orchestrator tool, the new task tool. But the mode would ask me questions about anything. So I need to do this. I need to implement this feature. It would ask me, okay, where do you want to implement it? How it should look? And it would ask me questions until it got to a point where it had enough information from me, and I would tell it, okay, go and switch to code mode or create a task for code mode to implement this. And once the code mode finished, it came back to the original chat mode task, and I could ask it, okay, review the code, because it already has all the context it needs from me. So it could say, okay, no, the code mode forgot this, or it missed this, or made a problem, an error here, and it was actually pretty good. I should probably get that back because I
think, Dan, like if you're doing that too, it just shows me I think there is a need for like a mode that doesn't just jump into code. I know there's like planning modes and architecture mode, but it's a little bit different than that. It's more like kind of evaluating the whole solution. Like, should we refactor this way, or we could maybe start doing it this way? Like, I think there's something to that, and I find myself using my mode quite often, honestly.
I guess it's just. Oh, sorry, Hannes, you're gonna say.
No, go ahead.
I think like a mode that gets information from you, because sometimes you're lazy or you don't know exactly what you want. A mode that can ask you relevant questions is really, really useful when you're trying to implement something new. For refactoring, usually I don't think it's very useful, but something that asks you questions eliminates the need for prompt engineering completely, because the mode already has all the context it needs from you just by asking you questions. So
it's probably like a combination of. It's almost like a combo there, because I like the idea of it asking you questions. So we kind of came at it from 2 different ways, because I really like what you're doing there. And mine kind of does that, but not to the degree you're talking about. What mine does is it really makes the AI think through multiple options itself, present that, and then I can kind of have a conversation about those options to refine like the one that I think is the best approach, and then kick it off. But
so
I also
you're
like
basically talking about like issue scoper, or if you're working in an issue first, or basically, issue scoper. It's pre-architect mode.
Yeah, I'm not totally familiar. It's what issue scoper is, to be honest. But
basically scoping, exactly, coming up with, outlining the boundaries of what you want done, how you want done, without necessarily saying, here's exactly the code that needs to change. Though sometimes in the scope, you leave some breadcrumbs like, here's the mechanism that is the problem or needs to be worked on.
Yep, 100%. That's what it is. But then giving me like 3 or 4 options to say, like, we could do it this way, or this way. This is the one that the AI recommends. And I'd say 50% of the time, the one they recommend is usually the one that I go with. But sometimes they're way off, and I can catch it before any code's written. It's like, no, that is not the right way to do that. Let's go with option 3, but tweak it this way.
Okay, I want to flick over to Flappy Birds.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, you got it.
I don't know what I got, to be honest. It said, okay, I'm going to kill this and tell it I will run it myself. And then npm run dev.
So just to finish the point, someone is saying we need a mode to ask questions. So basically, the mode writer mode that we're going to release later today in the marketplace will allow you to define something like that. So if you want a mode to ask you questions or give you options, you can do it with that mode, and it will be available in the marketplace.
While Hannes is troubleshooting the games, I just wanted to talk a bit more about the mode writer. Like, it's different from just asking Roo to create a mode, some random mode that you want. Like, the mode writer is quite comprehensive. It's going to create like a lot of rules for that mode. I think that the mode writer itself has like 6 different rule files. I think there are over 1,000 lines, and it's going to create this kind of rules for the mode that you want. You know, it's very specific of the instructions, how it writes, and it creates a bunch of different rule files, and you can just talk to it and have it adapt to whatever you want. For example, most of the modes that we came up with for the main repo that we're using daily, it all comes from the mode writer. And then when we have some kind of feedback that we need to change something, we just tell it, and it's going to read the files for that mode, and it's going to improve on them. For example,
Hold on a second. So do you just set it and forget it, or once it's done its first turn, it's got stuff, how much review do you need to do to the mode that it just made? Is it ready to go? Like,
yeah, I think that depends a lot on your case. For us, we just ask it to write a mode with what we want exactly, and it's going to create this bunch of instruction files, and then I'm going to run it like for doing whatever it's supposed to do. And if I find something that it needs changing, for example, we had the issue fixer mode, and at the end it's supposed to create a PR, but we needed a PR to be in the exact template we have for PRs in our project. I just told it to the mode writer, and it created a last instruction for the PR template. So now the issue fixer mode has the exact PR template that we are using, and it uses this PR like every time it's going to run the workflow. The workflows are very well defined inside the rules that the mode writer creates. And the amount of feedback or the adjusting, it just depends on how it goes on the experiments that you run.
So I guess the answer to your question, Hannes, is it depends on how much information you give mode writer. If you give it enough information about what you want to do, usually you don't need to change anything at the end. But if you miss something, I remember that I want that mode to do this at the end, then exactly. You will need to go back.
Okay, I'm going to pause for a sec and take a look here at and we'll back to you in a sec, Adam. I checked this out, and it has Flappy Birds. It did not have a play button in here, so I told it that, and so it's wiring it up. Apparently game over already, so it's still doing some work. Let's flick it back, and Adam, what were you going to say about modes?
I was going to say, I'm very interested to try the mode writer to recreate like that, even that teacher mode that I was kind of talking about, to kind of see how that goes, and maybe even recreate my pair programmer mode to see if I can get it better quality. Because there's a few people in Discord that we went back and forth on the pair programmer mode, like trying to refine it and get it better. Mm-hmm. So it'd be very cool to see if we could speed up that process for what we were doing.
No, totally.
Yeah, and what's nice is that both, like, all of you can create different versions if you want to. You can just set the base mode and give it to the mode writer and tell it to make your changes the way you want it to run. And the other people in your project can do the same thing. Like, you can just export the base mode that you created, and then share it to other people. It's very easy to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed you guys changed the format of modes recently, so that caught me off guard a little bit. Like
how so?
Like the storage mechanism. It used to be stored in like JSON, and now it's stored in like it's stored in a different structure. I'm trying to remember what it was exactly, but I have a bunch that I had saved away in JSON, and I'm like, why isn't that?
They still work.
Operate. Okay,
they should work.
They did it for me in that one particular case, but I probably did something wrong.
They didn't, and we fixed it. There was
that's probably I caught
a narrow window. A window, I think, for about a week where after everybody got used to the new YAML, then we broke it, the migration, and we didn't notice because, well, everyone migrated.
Except
And
for
then
me.
somebody brought it up, and it was like, oh man, whoops.
I just
sent
started
you the
converting
mode.
over to the new format.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that
It's done.
okay, let's take a look, and then I'm going to do a bit of a demo on the mode writer, and how to import and export modes. So let's take a look at what we have here. Okay. Play, and I lost. Okay, that's a fail. Okay, so it made a really cool. Okay, so what I would say is it really made an excellent UI, and it did not make. I mean, yeah, there are way many bugs, disappointingly many. Most like when I do this experiment, I'll make a tweak at the end, maybe give it 1 or 2 more prompts, but I noticed significant bugs in each one of the games. None of them are playable. So that's a bit of a fail.
Honestly, so somebody in chat said they think you need to just get better at playing the games. So
there is
Yeah,
that.
I think it's a skill issue, Hannes.
it might be a skill
Definitely a
issue.
skill issue.
Okay, so let's try in our demo repo here. Let's make a repo for creating snake, or a mode for creating the snake game, or this thing. Okay, I'm going to go to mode writer, and I am going to say maybe I'm going to use Sonnet here to be fair. Okay, am I using any reasoning? No. I'm going to turn reasoning on minimum. And I'm going to say create a mode for creating
So Tariq is asking if there's a difference between all the different rules in the rule folder versus just having it in the main file. What do you think, Hannes?
Say once more?
He's asking if there's a difference between having, the separate rules in the rule folder for each mode instead of having all the prompt in the instructions in the rule modes file.
There is a different. There's a few reasons for this. One of them is that we when you dump it all in your room modes file, it becomes difficult to scroll through and manage. I don't find that useful. Secondly, when you put them in a rules folder, it allows you to organize each of the files in there and more easily go through them. I put my rules files in XML because then I can, here, I'll show you. A complete game development workflow. Okay. So I asked it to make this mode and it says, what's your primary focus of this game development mode? But you know what? Maybe I actually want to take it and give it let's make a teacher mode. So, Adam, tell me what to tell it.
Find what I actually put in mind. Basically, I started with the idea that I want to. Here, I even have the wording. I sent it to you. So I started with it like you are a patient coding teacher. Your primary goal is to build the learner's conceptual understanding, their mental models, and reasoning skills before providing full solutions. So you need to guide via Socratic questions, structured explanations, and incremental testable steps. So that's sort of like how I would start it.
Okay, here, let me do that. I'm just gonna take that and copy it from your.
Yeah, you grabbed mine. Nice.
There we go. Yeah. And here we go. Okay.
Rules.
Make a mode called teacher mode. There we go. And
So curious.
Here goes
what this is
nothing.
gonna put out. To me, this is like the magic, the modes and the ability to try all the different models. Just the magic of Roo Code.
Yep. Should we change their name to agents instead of modes? Because quite frankly, if you have a mode, it makes sense. Like code mode. Okay, this is general. I just want to code something. But realistically, you have individual agents. I don't know. Does that make sense?
So
Yeah.
in the application that I'm building, internally I call them modes, but externally I call them agents in the very similar way. Like we're not building a coding product, but basically you enable your email agent, you enable your copywriting agent, but they're really just modes.
Right. And so I think agent is something people might it might speak to people more, make more sense because you have like teacher agent or code agent. So this is the thing is general agents like code work general, but I have or we have one called issue fixer that takes an issue that somebody built, put on a repo and fixes it. It creates a PR for it basically. Well, it's sort of an orchestrator of sorts. It does a little orchestrating, but it's mostly a code/architect mode. Scoper, coder, architect.
Yeah.
Okay, so what this is doing here is first it created a file. Okay, that I don't like. It added this at the top. And here, actually, I'm going to say, I'm going to tell it to remove this after. Remove the start of the file and end of the file. Okay, so what's happened here is it has taken some instructions too literal. Opus doesn't do this very often. It uses these CData tags to help when defining within XML. XML that is within XML versus XML that is a parameter versus nested, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So here, if you take a look at this, here's a teaching workflow. This mode does this. It's going to keep, while it's working on this, it's going to keep kicking us back, by the way, and then I'll just keep flicking back to the screen. The core principles, highest priority, understand before solutions. Always focus on building conceptual understanding and mental models before providing any code solutions or direct answers. Guide learners to discover, etc., etc. So here I'm going to zip these up. One of the reasons I like using XML is I can zip this up, and then when I'm going through this, I have initial assessment, main teaching workflow. That's cool. Conceptual foundation, build a mental framework before diving into specifics. Start with familiar analogies or real-world examples. Ask questions to help them connect new concepts to existing knowledge. Use visual or concrete examples when possible. Validate their understanding at each step.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Be very curious to see how this works.
Yeah. So this XML allows us, we have our main teaching workflow. We have mistake handling, completion criteria. Learner can explain the concept in their own words. Learner can apply the concept to a new or similar problem. So here's the thing: is this might be way off, but the cool thing is once you have this, you go in and you can either say, whoa, change this completely, or you just go in here and tweak something.
Yeah, or just tell it to change something you want. For example, after it finished creating the teacher mode, maybe you wanted to use mermaid diagrams to help with the explanations. Then you just tell it, and it's going to incorporate this into the workflow.
Yeah. Absolutely. Here, I'm going to create a note.
So I feel like this type of, well, this doesn't apply to every thing that you want to do when coding. Sometimes you just need to use the code mode, right? it's more general. But if you are doing something continuously at the same task over and over, or you want a certain workflow for something that you're doing, in my case, reviewing PRs, solving merge conflicts, stuff like that. This is just what I found so far is this is just the best way to give Roo instructions that it's going to you can know that it's going to follow them pretty well. Instead of sitting down, and writing some instructions in a markdown file and then passing them as custom instructions, I feel like a mode really makes Roo behave exactly like you want it to.
Yeah. Something interesting about the modes is the mode has insight into the tools available. So you can say, look, make it so that this mode uses, strictly utilizes the to-do list feature, the to-do list tool. And it'll actually come up with strict guidelines for creating that to-do and, when to move on to the next steps and things like that, which makes for some really neat, strict workflows, which are often what people want.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there's an MCP that is a major part of the workflow, it's going to create very clear instructions on how the mode should use it.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Honestly, that is how I use MCPs the most, is I create custom modes for them, because then I can, in the workflow for that mode, tell it to use that in particular ways.
Well, I'm going to go show you that other mode in a second. I'm just going to say here, remove at the end of the file. This is only for nested examples. Here, I'm going to put a spelling mistake on purpose. See this? I changed it so my prompt enhancer just uses Flash to fix the grammar and spelling.
Nice.
So no more enhancing my prompt, because I found too often it didn't understand the scope of what I was asking if I was referring to something, and it would make it too fancy. And so I like this because now when people are viewing my tasks or I'm sharing them, I don't look like a Neanderthal, either because I hammer on the keyboard like a monkey or because I actually don't know how to spell anything. Okay, while it does this, I'm going to go over here and give you guys a quick example of here, I'm going to cover that so it stops distracting us. Let's go to a issue writer. So I could be like, I'm going to go into Sonnet and say, I don't know what, I hate this here. See there? There's no more search. I don't like that. I would like search to show up at the top of the mode menu pop out. Okay, I'm going to just tell issue writer that. And then I'm going to hit enter. Let's see what happens. Thinking. Oh, look at that. To-do list. Analyze user's request and determine issue type. I like that. So based on the request. Now here's something interesting. The LLM could determine that is a feature request, not a bug report. But this specific workflow, strictly, every single time I use it, it does this. It forces you to determine, to say this is either bug report or a detailed feature proposal. Which is a really neat aspect of a mode, that you can turn it into a custom workflow that really bats pretty close to 100 when it comes to certain aspects. And this here, I could go, okay, detailed feature proposal, no problem. That's the specifics. That's what I wanted to show you guys, that we're able to make it do that over and over and over. I'm going to show you guys how this mode works. We have rules issue writer. So here's our workflow. And I'm going to zoom in a bit for all you old people out there, or people that aren't old and just need glasses. Okay, here we've got a workflow, initialization steps. determine issue type. This is the interesting one here. In this step number 1, it says, look, based on your analysis, and it gives the ask follow-up. Here's exactly what to call. And it does this religiously. And so you can tell it when making your mode, hey, and in the first step, I want to use ask follow-up question to, ask the user this. I want to always do that. I don't want it optional, yada, yada, yada. Now, here's the thing. You really do, while you're making your mode, you need to review this stuff. If you don't, it'll work. But when you review it, you'll go like, oh man, that's a stupid line. Let's remove that. And suddenly it will work much better because it is more than capable of making contradictions within these various files. Chirac had asked earlier about using the Roo modes versus the rules folder. Well, the cool thing about the rules folder is that when you say, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is the order that they appear in our system prompt. So I'm going to show you guys here. You go down and let's preview the system prompt. Okay.
And look at
If we scroll all the way to the bottom, yoink, where is it? This is a very long mode. You'd think this would kill your system prompt, and by all means, it adds a lot to it, but it really, really makes a difference. So I'm all for making a fatter system prompt if it can do this kind of cool stuff. So here, the first file that's shown here is this one. One, workflow. And if you look, that's here. Go ahead, Dan.
Just quickly to mention something about that extra system, extra long instructions. If you're, for example, running code mode and you need to give it instructions, for example, to solve a merge conflict, and then it fails, and then you need to say, oh, you need to do it like this, or that adds up eventually to the point where it's just simpler to send, detailed instructions rather than having to go back and forth getting it to do what you want for a more generic mode.
So what you're saying is don't be scared of a big fat system prompt workflow because it's more effective than fighting with a very general mode that, it's a very skinny system prompt in order to achieve what you're trying to achieve. Just
right.
Better off giving it right up front.
Exactly. The merge resolver mode is a perfect example. You can go and use the code mode to try and resolve some conflicts on a PR, and you're gonna be stuck in there for an hour. With that mode, the instructions are quite detailed, but it just one-shots the conflicts. You just give it the PR number, and eventually just finishes. Knows exactly which change to keep because it uses git blame on the actual line that has a conflict. So, if it's a bug fix or something that you want to replace with your new changes, it will actually check what happened on that line, the history, the git blame history, and it will decide, this commit that was on the main side is a bug fix. We should probably add that to our PR. So it keeps the changes that in the actual. It basically decides what changes to keep in a smart way. It doesn't just overwrite whatever is there.
Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got then. We've got a mode with these workflow best practices, etc., etc. It has made changes to remove that CData tag. Now, should we give this mode a try? What's it called? It's called Teacher. Adam, what should I put in here?
Are you in it? You're in the Flappy Bird code base? Is that what you? Okay. I don't know. Tell it. Let's add a feature in there. Well, it doesn't work. Maybe walk through like, hey, the game ends immediately when I start playing Flappy Bird, and let's see what it does.
Flappy Bird game ends immediately. Do I need to say anything, like help me understand, or?
No, it should be picked up if the mode is created correctly.
Oh, I guess you wouldn't know. I mean, we based it off of your thing, but this is a one shot. Let's see. Don't fail me. Don't fail me, Roo.
It should prompt you with some questions if we do it right. Let's see what it says.
When you say the game ends immediately, what exactly do you see happening? Does the game start and then suddenly stop, or does something else occur? The game, okay, so let's see. Play. Oh,
You fixed it.
I didn't.
It was broken.
Okay.
What?
No, dude, it is. What am I?
What? That's a very hard
Okay,
game.
so I was mistaken. It just seems that there is no gap for the bird to get through.
For the pipes? Yeah, whatever.
I'm just trying to give it like super simple. Often when prompting, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be specific. And then like, I want to see what happens if I talk to it like, I don't know, just spitting stuff out. Okay, so excellent observation. You've done great debugging work by looking more carefully at what's actually happening. The game isn't really ending immediately. It's that the bird can't get through the pipes because there's no gap. That's a very important distinction. Oh, this is exactly the kind of systemic thinking that makes you a better programmer. Instead of just saying it's broken, you looked closer and identified the specific problem. Okay, maybe we should give this mode to everyone that's reporting issues, because the amount of people that say it's broken, and you're like, well, basically, thank you for all that information. I now have to ask you and then wait for you. And it's like, I want to fix this. So anyways, now let's think about this logically. In a Flappy Bird's game, the pipes should have a gap between them for the bird to fly through. Let me ask you, what do you think controls the gap between the pipes and the code? What part of the game logic would be responsible for creating that opening? There we go.
I think it's the first one. But maybe
Something that sets
pick
the
last
height
one.
of the top pipe and the bottom pipe separately. A variable that defines how much space between the pipes. The way the pipes are positioned when they're created. Let's look at pipe generation to get code together to find out. Adam, which one do I click?
I think the top one's the right one. But I love that it gave you the option to look at the code together. I think that is
Actually, you know
something that mine was not doing.
Okay, let's do
Let's
that.
do the last one. Yeah.
Let's do this. I'm imagining that I'm teaching one of my kids. I've got like 40 kids. Okay, no, I've got 5 kids. And one of them is minorly interested in programming. Was for like 5 minutes. Maybe he'll be back.
So, because I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I feel like there's probably, maybe I'm overthinking
Oh,
this.
that's really nice because
That's
it
super
launches
nice.
you straight to the line that you want to know.
That's
Okay,
super
so
nice.
excellent. Now we have the pipe generation code in front of us. This is a great opportunity to practice reading and understanding code systematically. Let me guide you through analyzing the code. Look at the spawn pipe method starting around line 403, right here. Can you trace through what the method is doing step by step? What are the key variables being calculated? So if you were my son who's interested in coding, he'd be like, well, how about I just switch to code mode?
So, yeah. So the thing about this is I that was the thing I want to change. Like, was thinking I could change. Like, we should take away. This is to me sound mean. We should take away like the auto modes from people that are in school, and I know it's impossible to do fully, and kind of force them down these more guided approaches. So instead of using AI for cheating, you can still learn some of the fundamentals of it. I know really.
Well, I
that
mean,
might
we
be
could
too-
just rewrite code mode. So you could give a workspace with a code mode that basically doesn't code. It just teaches you about code.
True.
Yeah, but this mode, for example, I think it did a very good job at trying to explain and guide the user to where he needs to look and understand. Because,
Very good
for
job.
example, the other tools similar to this, like for the coding websites, the courses that have a custom agent, like I think that this is already better than most of these other tools, you know.
Okay, so
And this is something that we created in like 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to and with Sonnet. So Sonnet's very affordable. Maybe you can't afford it all the time, but if you just drop the dollars, I mean, what did we spend on this? We spent $1.21 to make that mode. So I'm going to show you guys here before we're done. We've got 3 minutes. I'm going to show you, we've implemented a new feature recently. We're going to be adding this to the menu very shortly, the ability to import and export modes. But you can go right into your settings or your mode settings, scroll to the bottom, and export the mode. We're currently in teacher mode. Let's export this mode. Ta-da! And now this mode here is interesting because you don't want, I should probably make this more clear, but this is not a rules file. This is for importing. If you dump this in your rule file, you won't necessarily get what you want because it has this additional relative paths and the rules files section. So when you import this, this will actually import and create the folder rules teacher. Instead of just dumping it all in one long, messy file. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop it into Discord for y'all.
Not only that,
then-
but it makes it easier for the LLM to actually go back and edit the rules. So imagine just having a Roo modes that has, 10,000 lines, and you need to
Well,
change
and
one single
I
command.
go into Roo modes. I go into the modes editor and I say with what's it called? Rules -teacher mode. Let's change blah blah blah. And then I make sure to have my changes staged or whatever so that I can see. After I make those changes, then I go and look and be like, hey, what do we got here? And I really, really want to see what exactly it changed. So are you going to say something, Murilo? Cut you off.
Yeah, just show to people that they can also import to the global mode. Like when you create a mode with the mode writer, it's always going to be created inside the project that you're on. So if you want to export it to another project, you can do like Hannes said, you can just like export the file and then you can import on your other project at the project level. Or if you just want to have it on all of your projects, you can export the file and then import at the global level.
Yep. So
Yeah,
I guess that wraps us up for today. Thank you very much, Adam, Dan, and Murilo for joining me. This has been Office Hours, and I look forward to hearing from you guys in our Discord chat and seeing you guys next week. Talk soon.
Hey, everybody.
Talk to you guys later. Bye.